I want to throw some shade on the internet. I want to throw some shade on people who want to control a culture. The first guy I'm going to throw some shade at is this researcher who says that we can make humans more empathetic and more socially conscious just by injecting drugs, maybe, not with people's permission, just to the general population.
Let's move on now to a story that sounds like something out of the movie Equilibrium. Morality pills may be the US's best shot at ending the coronavirus pandemic, according to one ethicist. This article is from theconversation.com. The author's name is Parker Crutchfield. When someone chooses not to follow public health guidelines around the coronavirus, they're defecting from the public good. It's the moral equivalent of the tragedy of the commons. If everyone shares the same pasture for their individual flocks, some people are going to graze their animals longer or let them eat more than their fair share, ruining the commons in the process. Selfish and self-defeating behavior undermines the pursuit of something from which everyone can benefit. Democratically enacted, enforceable rules mandating things like mask wearing and social distancing might work if defectors could be coerced into adhering to them. But not all states have opted to pass them or to enforce the rules that are in place. My research in bioethics focuses on questions like how to induce those who are non-cooperative to get on board with doing what's best for the public good. Who gets to determine what the public good is? Probably the same kind of people who determine what hate speech is. To me, it seems the problem of coronavirus defectors could be solved by moral enhancement. Like receiving a vaccine to beef up your immune system, people could take a substance to boost their cooperative, pro-social behavior. Could a psychoactive pill be the solution to the pandemic? It's a far-out proposal that's bound to be controversial. You think? But one I believe is worth at least considering, given the importance of social cooperation in the struggle to get COVID-19 under control. Again, to get COVID-19 under control or to get the people under control. So basically, if fear-mongering doesn't work, then drugging people to make them compliant and docile appears to be the solution. Is that right? But I believe society may be better off, both in the short term as well as the long, by boosting not the body's ability to fight off disease, but the brain's ability to cooperate with others. What if researchers developed and delivered a moral enhancer rather than an immunity enhancer? Moral enhancement is the use of substances to make you more moral. The psychoactive substances act on your ability to reason about what the right thing to do is, or your ability to be empathic or altruistic or cooperate. For example, oxytocin, the chemical that, among other things, can induce labor or increase the bond between mother and child, may cause a person to be more empathic and altruistic, more giving and generous. The same goes for psilocybin, the active component of magic mushrooms. These substances have been shown to lower aggressive behavior in those with antisocial personality disorder and improve the ability of sociopaths to recognize emotion in others. These substances interact directly with the psychological underpinnings of moral behavior. Others that make you more rational could also help. Then perhaps the people who choose to go maskless or flout social distancing guidelines would better understand that everyone, including them, is better off when they contribute and rationalize the best thing to do is cooperate. There are, of course, pitfalls to moral enhancement. One is that the science isn't developed enough. For example, while oxytocin may cause some people to be more pro-social, it also appears to encourage ethnocentrism. But this doesn't mean that a morality pill is impossible. The solution to the underdeveloped science isn't to quit on it, but to direct resources to related research in neuroscience, psychology, or one of the behavioral sciences. Another challenge is that the defectors who need moral enhancement are also the least likely to sign up for it. Yeah, obviously. As some have argued, a solution would be to make moral enhancement compulsory or administer it secretly, perhaps via the water supply. Yeah, just spike people's water supply with drugs against their will, without their knowledge. Yeah, that's perfectly moral. It's ironic that you're suggesting making people moral by doing something highly immoral. These actions require weighing other values. Does the good of covertly dosing the public with a drug that would change people's behavior outweigh individuals' autonomy to choose whether to participate? Does the good associated with wearing a mask outweigh an individual's autonomy to not wear one? The scenario in which the government forces an immunity booster upon everyone is plausible, and the military have been forcing enhancements like vaccines or uppers upon soldiers for a long time. The scenario in which the government forces a morality booster upon everyone is far-fetched, but a strategy like this one could be a way out of this pandemic, a future outbreak, or the suffering associated with climate change. They always come back to that in the end, don't they? That's why we should be thinking of it now.
Certainly seems like we can't be trusted to make the right decisions regarding our own bodies, but who should we trust? I'm going to read John 2, or 1 John 2. Do not love the world. Do not love the world, neither the things that are in the world. If anyone loves the world, the Father's love isn't in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, isn't the Father's, but it is the world's. The world is passing away with its lusts, but he who does God's will remains forever. And this means the things that are in the world, they're not for us. What we really need is what's outside of the world. What we need is the Father, our Lord.
The rebranding campaign paid off. His net worth swiftly doubled, earning Bill Gates the title of richest man in the world.
So just to finish Throwing Shade, can you think of one person who might benefit from being chemically enhanced to have more social understanding, more pro-social emotions? Really? Can you think of just one person?
This is tape 3 of the videotape deposition of Bill Gates on September.
During the 18-month trial, Gates gave hours of videotape testimony.
What were the non-Microsoft browsers that you were concerned about in January of 1996?
That month.
Yes, sir.
And what about it?
What non-Microsoft browsers were you concerned about in January of 1996?
I don't know what you mean concerned.
What is it about the word concerned that you don't understand?
I'm not sure what you mean by it.
The way the news industry hypnotizes, brainwashes, manipulates, whatever word you want to put on it, the masses is by the framing. So by framing this issue as a race issue, it guarantees division. Division guarantees more news guarantees more clicks, more profits. So they've suckered you into a frame that makes you think you have an opinion, but you didn't. It's actually an illusion of an opinion, because your opinion just went to whichever part of the frame you thought you fit the best. They made your opinion for you and gave you the impression you made it yourself. Now, that fact is very difficult to accept as your worldview, but you will, because it's also so sticky that once you hear it, you just have to hear it the first time, that the frame gives you the illusion of forming an opinion, but that didn't happen. It didn't happen. All you did is pick the part of the frame you were closest to. If somebody had picked a different frame, the thing you thought your opinion would look different. Once you realize that, you realize what the game is, and you can see behind the curtain. You want to get red-pilled a little bit harder? Here it comes. Let that last one settle in a little bit, because this next one's going to just knock you off your chair. The only way that the elites can stay in power is by making you think we're racially and gender divided. It's mostly racially. The only way the elites can stay in power is making you think we're racially divided. Do you know why? Because if people realized that poor people, let's just say low-income people, so there's more of them in the group. So low-income people, If low-income people realized that they had more in common with each other, regardless of anything else, regardless of religion, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of gender. Gender is sort of special, so let's leave that out at the moment. So let's just say, regardless of ethnicity, all people of low income have a lot in common in terms of their situation.
You will see the studies that used to be number 1, number 2, number 3 on the pages of PageRank search don't exist anymore. And what is there are studies that wind up having headlines that support the common narrative. Because if you can keep people from assembling, guess what they're not talking about? They're not talking about the issues of the campaign. If you can keep people in their homes, the only source of information that you can have is what you curate for them. Now I know how to target my electorate. They are in the only place I allow them to be, being fed the only message I'm allowing them to hear, through a media that I control.